Loneliness is looking for a hole that will contain me, a black space that will hide my own darkness, my invisibility. The short poem I read is entitled In Search of a Metaphor to Conclude This Uneventful Day, written by Alvin Cruz. Good day, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about poetry. Hey everyone! Welcome to our latest episode of the Real Life in Postcard Views podcast. My name is Paolo. So, how is everybody? I do hope you and your family are safe, are vaccinated, and masking in public. As I said in my cold open, today we are talking about poetry, and we have a guest for this episode. He was one of our guests in our Christmas episode entitled Reasons to Celebrate, and do check that out if you haven't done so. Our guest is a professor of English at Far Eastern University in Alabang here in Metro Manila. He graduated from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. His early poems appeared in Philippine Graphic. He has also written travel essays and film reviews for Manila Bulletin and Travel Plus magazine. More recently, his poems have appeared in different international literary journals, including Wales Haiku Journal, Modern Haiku, Frog Pond, Kingfisher, Presence, Haiku Canada Review, The Bamboo Hut, Creatrix, Poetry P, ang dami ha, Haiku Universe, The Mainichi, Cold Moon, and Prune Juice. Wow, there's so many pala. His haiku have won several awards, including second place in Haiku Society of America Senryu Award 2020, 2021, in memory of Gerald Brady. Second place in Katikati, New Zealand Haiku Contest 2021. Honorable mention in the Pulak International Haiku Contest in Croatia 2021 as well. Honorable mention in the Irish Haiku Society Haiku Competition last year. And honorable mention in the H. Jin Murtha Memorial Senryu Contest 2021. He is a member of the Haiku Society of America and World Haiku Association. He has recently released his second book, Written on Water, Haiku and Watercolor Through the Seasons, published by Central Books. He is also the author of Sunsets Are Sonnets and Other Poems that was published in 2020. Ladies and gents, Mr. Alvin Cruz. Welcome to the show again, Alvin. How have you been?
Hi, Pao. Thank you for inviting me here. Good morning. Good morning. It's so good to be back.
Kumusta? Hindi ka naman nagka-COVID or Omicron?
Ka- Hindi, biro lang. Of course, it's no joke, no? Praise God. Thank God. Hindi naman. Okay naman ako. Common na sa akin yung colds every morning. So, I don't get worried, no? Yeah. So,
Oo nga, di ba? I mean, this past few weeks, a lot of people I know tested positive. It's them and their families. Saka
yeah.
parang, di ba, parang ang dami. There's just so many.
Yes.
Don't you
That's
just feel nostalgic? Like, remember in 2020, don't you just feel nostalgic of that time na parang the only person that we knew who had COVID was Tom Hanks? Remember? Yung beginning ng pandemic. Si
ba
Tom
yung
Hanks lang kilala natin, and then parang
Oo.
lately, so like last year, it was like people that are known to people we know, and then suddenly it's people that we know, and then suddenly it's our family, and our friends. Parang it got closer and closer to us.
Totoo ka dyan, Paolo. So, in fact, recently, no, a member of my family got COVID, no? But okay na siya. So, okay na
Okay
naman
na.
siya. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Sana magtuloy-tuloy pa at sana wala nang gano'n na mangyari sa atin.
And
Um,
balita ko bumababa na daw yung mga
yeah.
cases.
Hopefully.
Sana tuloy-tuloy na.
Yeah. So again, just like during our Christmas episode, so throughout this episode, I'll be calling Alvin as Teacher Alvin because we were actually co-teachers for several years.
Oo.
We were teaching English in a language school for Korean students here in Manila. And this was like, 15 years ago?
Oh my goodness. Parang ano nga,
I
parang
started teaching there 2005. So I
ah,
think I met you mga 2006 siguro or 2005.
yes.
I don't.
So, it's parang ganon, 15 years. Grabe,
Hmm.
no? Time flies.
Oo nga. Well, so Teacher Alvin, I always knew that you were a university teacher or you were always teaching somewhere else. And then parang suddenly, a few years ago, I
Ah,
saw you posting poetry on your social media accounts.
oh, okay.
Tapos, and they were haikus.
Okay.
And then you say, and then pinopost mo that you were getting published internationally and receiving awards. And I was like, what is going on? Parang, I did not
Big,
know that. Kumbaga parang this was like a part of you that I really did not know. We did not know. And
yeah,
we were co-teachers. So
that's
Teacher Alvin, when did this all start? Have you
okay.
always been writing poetry and why haikus?
All right, Pao. Actually, hindi lang ikaw ang nabigla. A lot of people, a lot of my friends, no? Ba si Alvin pala ay Makata, no? But actually, it was not something new, Paolo, no?
Mm-mm.
Um, even before I met you back in 1990s pa, no? That was 2 years after I graduated na, no, sa
Mhm.
college. Doon na ako nagsimula magsulat. Although hindi pa haiku, no? I started writing free verse, no? So susulat na ako noon, no? As a young para akong baguhan, no? Baguhan. And I was very young then, no? In my early 20s, no?
Mm.
Huwag na nating tanungin kung ilang taon na ako ngayon, no? Not so long ago. Anyway, so yon, doon ako nag-start pa, pero hindi ko to ang tawag dito, many people did not know because I never really talked about it, no? I only talked about it with a few close friends, no?
Mm.
Yes. So kasi it's something na parang why would I, hindi naman ako nakaka-produce ng iba pang bagong tula. What's the
Mm.
point, diba? To talk about it. Puro I don't want to talk about just the past.
Mm.
Yun, pao. So, in the 90s, nag-try akong i-publish to sa Philippine Graphic, no?
Mm.
At that time, it was the late national artist Nick Joaquin who was
Mm.
the literary editor, and I didn't know until I got a rejection letter. May pirma na NJ. Oh my God, who put this NJB? Sabi ko, palagay ko si Nick Joaquin na to. And then sa magazine, siya nga. Oh my God. So it's okay to be rejected by a national artist, no? Sabi ko, okay. And I kept trying again and again. No? Sulat, hindi ako gumibap doon. Nagsulat
Mm.
ako na nagsulat. At nagsubmit until finally, boom! Ayan,
Mm.
natanggap na.
Okay. Babalikan kita dyan, Teacher Alvin, yung tungkol sa publication history mo. Nung high school ka ba, like when you were in school, ikaw ba yung pinapasali sa mga poetry writing contest? Like, did you have that kind of background? Like, for example, in high school, well, I did a lot of things in high school. Naging editor pa ako naging part ako ng editorial team ng school paper. So when you were studying, were you also like that? Were you a writer when you were in school?
Yes, I was.
Mm.
Pao, nagsusulat ako sa school organ namin, pero wala mga poetry contest, no?
Mm.
I think I remember I did write one poem in the literary page of our school organ, pero I was not very proud of it. I even
Oh
forgot
no.
about it now. I could not even remember that, no?
Oh, my
Uh,
high school poems were horrible.
Mine too. Anyway, so pero
Siguro tungkol lahat sa sunset.
But I remember the title. I think it was Gray December. Oo, yun. So anyway, hindi sa poetry ako sinasali, sa essay writing. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Um, so when do you think was the first time that you started writing poetry? Like kahit hindi pa serious. So would you say high school or elementary school? And
Ah,
why? Why do you think you gravitated towards writing poetry?
nagsimula ako nung ano na siguro, yung high school. Oo, kasi
Mm.
interested na ako talaga magsulat, no, essays and all that. Pero
Mm.
wala lang, gusto ko lang, it wasn't really very, uh, I didn't look at it as, I didn't take it seriously.
Mhm.
Nagseryoso lang ako sa poetry, yun na nga, after graduation. Naghahanap na ako ng trabaho, pero habang naghahanap ng trabaho, nag, alam mo ba yung Thomas Jefferson Library sa Makati?
Yeah.
Yan ang aking tambayan habang naghihintay ng trabaho, naghahanap
Mm.
ng trabaho every weekend. Ah, doon ako na expose sa poetry talaga, no?
Ah,
Na hindi nire-require ng professors ko. Ako
yeah.
po ang naghahanap ng librong mababasa ko.
Mm.
It was a different experience kasi ikaw mismo nagsa-search eh. Ikaw ang mismo interesado. Uh, I don't know why I've suddenly got interested into poetry, pero siguro ba dahil sa mga una kong nabasa doon, no? Sila
Mm.
William Carlos Williams, yan yung mga naging una kong ano doon, nababasa. So doon ako nag-try magsulat.
Mm.
Na-inspire ako sa mga nabasa kong libro.
Peter Alvin, I'm just curious, but why haikus? Because I remember the only haikus are not very mainstream in poetry. Well, at least in the Philippines, you know. Um, and I do not know, even siguro in the universities, it's not very mainstream.
Yeah.
I remember the only exposure ko sa haiku was perhaps in high school, or was it in college literature class wherein it's basically just a chapter in it's a chapter in a book, you know. And then I alam ko na haiku is like ano ba yun, 575 ba na syllables yun. So
Mm-mm.
and it's a Japanese form of poetry. So those are the only things really I know about haiku. So Teacher Alvin, bakit haiku? Why haiku? And can you explain to our listeners parang haiku 101? What are haikus and where did it originate from?
Okay, siguro unahin ko muna yung pangalawang tanong, yung what
Mm-mm.
is haiku, and sinabi mo nga it's a traditional Japanese form of poetry with 3 lines and 575 pattern, no?
Mm-hmm.
Syllabic pattern. Pero in the modern times now, I mean, nowadays, a modern haiku doesn't follow strictly 575. And yun yung sinusulat ko ngayon. No? I don't
Okay.
stop counting syllables.
Mm-hmm.
So I just write as short as I can and as meaningfully as I can. Anyway, to give you a short, more in what a short historical background about
Mm-hmm.
haiku. Okay
Yeah.
ba?
Yeah.
Haiku 101 eh, no? Pero may
Yeah. Well, specifically, I would like to know if it's not 575, what makes a poem a haiku?
oh, that's very difficult to answer. Hindi porke few words tapos you wrote it in 3 lines can be considered haiku.
Yeah.
Yun ang discuss natin yung several characteristics of a haiku, no?
Mm.
Oo, na dapat nandun dapat 'yon, no?
Oo.
Okay. So anyway, back in the nagsimula in the 12th century, no? It's called renga. Renga, linked verse. Yung mga poets nagko-contribute to write what? One poem. Okay, Pao? So, nagli-link sila ng mga verses. Ngayon, merong hoku na tinatawag doon sa opening line. Yun yung haiku part, no? Yung opening verse. Ang tawag noon una, hoku. Now, nung time ni Basho, inano niya yon, inelevate niya, ginawa niyang stand alone, no? Dati part lang ng renga. Ngayon naging ano na siya, stand alone. Meaning to say, it can become a poetic form in itself.
Mhm.
And Basho is one of the, is the considered the master, haiku master
Mhm.
in Japan. So yun. Now let's go to the some characteristics of a haiku, no?
Oo.
Pao? So ang unang-una, no, traditionally, meron dapat tinatawag na kigo or season word, no? Seasonal element. So, 'di ba, sa Japan o kahit sa ibang countries may 4 season. Tayo wala, 'di ba? Dalawa lang ang season natin.
Oo.
Yes, pero ginagamitan ng mga words that indicate the season. For example, si fireflies, 'di ba sa summer sila? Summer ba? Tama? Oo, may mga ganon.
I
Cranes,
think.
culture, no? Oo, may mga, 'di ba? Of course, snow is winter. Ganon.
Mm.
Gagamitan mo ng mga words that indicate seasons, no? Or you can actually use the season itself, like the word spring, autumn, and etc.
So
Now,
meron palang season element talaga
yeah,
yung haikus.
it's important, no?
So
Uh,
that's why pala yung mga haikus na nabasa ko na doon sa una mong book, parang sabi ko, bakit parang weather related lahat sila? Or season related?
oh,
Yung
yeah,
pala yun.
may rain, no? And
Ah,
all. So, yun yung number one, no? Okay. Traditionally, and then pina-follow pa rin yan hanggang ngayon. Okay. Now, another characteristic pa, um, there's what you call kiraji, no? Or the cutting word. No?
mhm.
Di ba napakaiksi niyan? 3 lines. And
Oo.
usually divided into 2 parts. Yung cutting word na yun, or cutting in kiraji, separates the two and yet joins them together. Paradox, no? It's difficult to explain it, no?
Mm.
But yun yung nagiging surprise element ng haiku, no?
Oo.
That's what makes haiku so, for me, so beautiful and enigmatic, no? In 3 words, it can pack a lot of meaning, no, in it.
Mhm.
So for example, ito, can I say an example? Right.
Ito na ba yun? Okay. So can
But
you read can you read one of your poems?
mamaya na lang yung ano, sige, okay. So is another characteristic, can I continue, Pao?
Yeah, sure.
Uh, yung mindfulness, no,
Oo.
ng haiku should be there. Yung living in the moment, okay? Because each moment is so fleeting and you want to capture it, no? By write in such a short in such a few words, Pao.
Mm.
So yung awareness of the moment, that is very essential in a haiku.
I think that's also what really makes haikus very enigmatic and
Mm,
very interesting is because in such a few words and in a very specific measurement usually parang
mhm.
it can pack an entire world, an entire universe.
Exactly.
It's like looking at a miniature sculpture or
Mm,
basta
mm,
it's a tiny thing but parang there's an entire world in itself.
yeah.
And that's what attracts also me to haikus compared with, for example, yung napakahabang poems, really long poems, and
Ah,
somehow it can be very difficult to follow yung mga long poems. But a haiku, it's
mm.
not it doesn't really intimidate. It's not intimidating. It
Yes,
invites you to read it and
exactly.
then to inhabit that world. I think that's what I like about haikus.
Yes, tama ka
Mm.
doon, Pao, no? Yung, binanggit mo yung role ng reader, no? I would like to add, no, na ang haiku din ay gives a space for the reader to fill in. Yan.
Oo.
Okay, you don't give it all away.
Yeah.
That's one of the beauty, that's one beauty of a haiku. Yan ang dapat ay present din, no? Na kailangan ma-engage yung reader, no? He fills in what is uh, missing in between, no? In between the
Mm.
lines, no? So yon.
Teacher Alvin,
Yeah.
read us one of your works.
Okay, ito na ba yon? Poetry reading na.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, from my latest book.
Written on water.
Yes, mamaya tayo mag-promote.
Oh.
Ako muna. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so tell me something about this particular poem. Ano yung theme niya?
Okay. So, bale, itong book namin, no, with my sister, no,
Oo.
is arranged into 4 seasons, no?
Oo.
Concept, no? Uh, the haiku written fall under different seasons, no?
Mm.
So,
So
I'm
this
gonna,
is spring.
yeah, so I'll be reading one haiku from each season, huh?
Oo.
So, let's begin with spring.
Oo.
Okay.
This is the first one. So the rest will be throughout the show. I'll ask you to read the other 3 later.
So, little by little. I mean,
Oo.
okay. Sige, so, I'll read it now. Spring grass, the bed I lie on to dream of God. Spring grass, the bed I lie on to dream of God. Yeah. This is one of my favorite haiku I've ever written kasi it speaks about my faith. No?
Mhm.
Yun pa.
So Teacher Alvin, tell me about your inspirations. So you said that this particular poem, it has something to do with your faith.
Mhm.
Um so what or who are your inspirations when you're writing poetry?
Well, of course, to be honest, I ask inspiration from God. No?
Mhm.
Uh, I always ask him to help me come up with new haiku to write, no, to uh, to asking him to also nurture this gift that he has given me, no. So aside from that, so that's the basic ano ko, yung source of inspiration, no. Uh, and then so kung saan pa ako humuhugot, Pao, yun ba?
Oh, like do you have any other inspiration? It could be personal,
Oh,
artistic, or
all
even, actual places.
right.
I know you've been to Japan. You've been to Japan several times, and you teach in a Japanese. You used to teach at least in a Japanese school. So I know that you have places as your inspirations.
Okay. Pao, I cannot there is not one single thing lang na source of inspiration. There's so many things. Anything can become an inspiration for me, no?
Mm.
That's the truth, no? I watch even a documentary, about Japan could, you know, inspire me to write something, no? About, for
Mm.
example, I was just watching this docu about geisha, no?
Mhm.
And I was intrigued by the life of a Maiko. A Maiko is the apprentice of a geisha, and I wrote one poem recently about it. Na? So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be my own personal experience, Paolo. Anything that what uh, al- allows me to parang anything that piques my interest, no? And
Mhm.
it's the way people live, no? Yun nga, no? Other people's culture, also nature, of course, no?
Oo.
Beach, nako, nako, ang dami kong nasusulat when I'm in nature, Paula. Tapos, ano pa, sometimes it just starts with an image. Gusto kong gamitin tong image na to. Gusto kong gamitin tong word na to. And I will, work around it na. Yeah. So, yan.
Okay. Do you have any favorite poets or favorite authors?
Ang dami, no? Hindi lang poets, novelists, no?
Mm.
Marami. So sa poets, of course, yung mga traditional, yung classic tradition ng haiku na sila Basho, Isa, yan. Sa modern, I would say, yeah, I like Murakami. Ha?
Mhm.
Nabasa ko yan. Sa modern, hindi ako pa masya. Ayun, we would say the modern na naman si Murakami, di ba? Yeah.
Mm.
I like
Um,
classics more eh. Mas gusto ko
Oo.
classics.
How about in the Philippines? Are there do you have any specific poets or authors na
Yes.
you see as
Francisco,
an inspiration or
gusto
model?
ko. Maraming. Okay. Gusto ko yung mga short stories ni Francisco Arceliana,
Mhm.
who was my professor na
Oo.
naging naging professor ko siya sa isang creative writing course. Of course, Nick Joaquin, no? Edith Tiempo, yan. Mga paborito ko.
Mm.
Ah,
Sir Alvin, how is there a haiku scene sort of in the Philippines? Like do you know of any other poets in the Philippines who write haikus like you? Do you have a club or something? Tell us
um,
about it.
ako pa, sadly wala. Wala
Oo.
tayong an organization or anything, the movement or groups that promote haiku. Ang
Mm.
nakikita ko parang kanya-kanya, individually. Minsan nakikita ko isang Pinoy na publish sa isang journal din. Ganon, sabi ko, doon ko na lang sila nakikilala, no? So
Mm.
recently, I've met, naging friend ko na sa Facebook kasi nakita ko siya sa na maraming na nagsusulat din ng haiku, no?
Oo.
So wala tayo pang, in fact that is probably go I have this vision na sana I would become an instrument, no, in starting a movement to promote haiku, no, um, para mas ma-introduce sa mga Pilipino, no, kasi I think talagang hindi pa nila masyado tong kilala, no.
Sir Alvin, are there haikus written in Filipino? Have you read Filipino haikus?
Meron akong nabasa na ano na yun, nagsulat, pero halos kung meron man, siguro mabibilang mo sa daliri.
Maybe
Wow.
you should try it. But I think you aren't you translating one of your books?
Wala pa akong ganong ano,
Oo.
hindi ko pa nakikita sa sarili ko na
Mm.
nagsusulat sa Tagalog, no, ng haiku. O,
Oo.
kasi hindi biro eh. Sa
Yeah, I
English
know. I mean,
mahirap na.
Filipino language is actually very difficult.
Oo.
Um,
Saka ang dami
the words are very specific.
at
But you know what? We can always try. Mm.
I try to translate one of my haiku. Gusto mo bang marinig?
Sige.
Filipino.
Sige.
Oo. Pero basahin ko muna yung English. Ito galing na sa ano to. So magpunta na tayo sa summer.
Oo.
Tama. Ay, nasa autumn ata yung translate ko sa Tagalog.
Okay lang.
Sige, gusto mong mabasa yung gusto mong basahin ko yung ano, translate ko sa Tagalog?
Yes.
Okay. So let me read it first in English.
Oo.
Kaya ako to translate sa Tagalog, na to give you a context. Ni-require ng editor. Sabi niya sa letter ko, uh, can you translate your haiku in your native language? Sabi ko lang, yes, I will do. Yes, I will. Sabi ko,
Mm.
okay. Alam nga naman, sabi ko, I don't know how, no? Nakakahiya. Yun. So sabi ko, yes. So after that, ayan, sinabit ko yung Tagalog version. At pinublish din niya yung Tagalog, Pao.
Mm.
Okay, So eto yung English muna, no? This
Yeah.
is from the autumn season. An interlude between yes and maybe. Ay, hindi pala to. Sorry. Hindi ito yan. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Hindi ito yan. Sorry. Yun yung ano, autumn. Wait a minute. Okay. Read autumn wind. Sorry. Yan. Ito na yan. Autumn wind. Goodbye written on a paper moon. Autumn wind. Goodbye written on a paper moon. So that's the one that I submitted na hinihinga ng translation.
Oh.
So So, ito naman, talagang nagdugo ang ilong ko, no? Anyway, so ito ang naging
Ano
resulta.
yung translation?
Ito. Okay, naalala ko pa. Okay. Hangin sa taglagas. Paalam isinulat sa papel na buwan. Yeah. That's that.
Mahirap ano? Parang
Oh,
somehow it doesn't have the same effect. Pero you can, well, in Filipino, kasi parang you can just approximate kung ano yung tamang translation.
So in
Mm.
that case, niliteral ko lahat ang mga word for
Oo.
mm-mm.
Let's talk about Teacher Alvin, your publication history. So you said na your first work was your work was first published in Philippine Graphic, tama ba?
Yes, yun
Um,
mm-mm.
oo. So that was local.
Local.
Nagkaroon ka muna ng local publication before you got published somewhere else. Can you
Yes.
tell us more about getting published, and is it easy to get published? Like, how do you get published?
Wow, it's not easy. Oh, kasi be ready for rejection slips, no?
Mm-mm.
Rejection letters, rejection emails, no? Even up to now, I get those, no?
Mm-mm.
But kung talagang gusto mong ma-publish, you just keep on writing and write good stuff, no?
Mm-hmm.
Keep improving yourself, keep reading, no? And don't stop submitting your works. Huwag mong personalin yung mga rejection slips. Ako, numb na ako dyan. Dati iniiyakan ko, ngayon, wala lang, kibit, ano tawag doon? Kibit.
Ibit balikat.
Yun, okay. See, hindi ako talaga mag-translate. Okay. So, ganon. Just keep submitting your works, no? And one someday you'll hit
Someday
it.
bibigyan ka din nila ng award.
Yes, yes,
Not only published, but they will give you an award.
yes, that's
Teacher
right.
Alvin, do you think getting published, do you think your process changed when you start getting published? Did it have an effect on the kind of poems that you write?
Definitely, Pao. Definitely.
Paano? How?
Kasi parang you're transitioning na from someone unknown to someone who's becoming more known, right?
Mhm.
Nababasa ka na. So, I begin to have a sense of responsibility na, no? Ano mo yun, to write something that will really strike a chord sa readers, no?
So
Yan.
you're writing for readers.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
mm.
Mm-mm.
Hindi
Yeah.
siya yung, this is not like high school wherein you just start scribbling on your notebook na because this is what I'm feeling right now.
No. I'm over that. I've outgrown
Mhm.
that stage.
Mm.
Kasi
But
if you're
you
serious,
feel it's also very fulfilling to be able to do that.
yeah. But what I do is I write something also that fulfills me, of course, no?
Mhm.
So if it fulfills me, then it can probably fulfill the reader as well. No?
Mm. Do you get feedback from readers of your poems?
Ah, sometimes, yes.
Mhm.
Sa Instagram.
Mm.
Post ko doon. And even from the editors themselves. Yeah.
Oo.
They will
Okay.
accept it and then they will give a positive comment. Yun doon ako tumataba ang puso ko. Oo.
Oo.
Nava-validate ako ng nava-validate, no?
Mhm.
Hindi lang nila tinatanggap, sinasabi pa nila why they accepted it, why they
Oo.
liked it, no?
Okay. At this point, Teacher Alvin, let's go to your summer poem.
Summer. Nag-skip tayo, no? Kasi tumalon ako sa autumn, no? Kasi
Oo.
yes, summer. Wow. Ayan. Okay. Summer. Okay. Ano nga summer sa Tagalog? Tag-araw?
Tag-init, tag-araw.
Okay. Pao, itong babasahin ko ay nanalo, no? Isa sa mga nanalong award.
Mhm.
No? Um, okay. Rainbow flag. There is no color for who I am. Rainbow flag. There is no color for who I am.
Nice. You said that this won an award.
Yeah, hindi ko akalain ah.
Mm.
Oo.
And so when you win an award like that, this is from an international publication, yung mga awards na ganyan, or
International,
International Society of
exact. Mga
Poetry.
international haiku societies na are
Oo.
all over the world. Mm-mm.
So what happens when you win an award? Do you get sent a plaque, or
Ah,
what kind of recognition is given?
so depende yan doon sa nagbibigay ng contest, no,
Mm.
nag-organize ng contest. For this particular award, no, they gave me cash prize.
Mhm.
Prize. Okay. Hindi ko na sasabihin magkano, pero ako alam mo, ay parang wow, pwede palang pagkakitaan. Okay, pwedeng karirin, no? No, I'm just,
Oo.
pero it's really, of course, it's the fulfillment, no? Of being recognized.
Mm.
Anyway, aside from the cash prize, binigyan ako ng certificate, minail sa akin, no? From the
Mm.
US. Nagulat ako, meron pa palang certificate na. Ganon. And then ipapublish nila sa mga websites nila. Yan.
Ah,
Journals. And journals.
okay. And journals. Teacher Alvin, could you describe to us your process, your artistic process? So, when you set out, do you set out to write a poem, or does it just happen, like when you're in the taxi cab, or when you're walking,
Well,
suddenly an idea pops into your head, or do you really make it a point to sit down at a certain time of the day and start writing? So what is your process?
Pao, masasabi ko siguro na both. In both cases, no? There are times I sit down talaga deliberately to write.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Dinidisiplina ko sarili ko. And usually that time is in the morning, no? After my morning devotion, God would just give me an inspiration to write, no? After
Mm-hmm.
my devotion, susulat ko na agad yan. Kasi uh, if I put it off, mawawala na sa isip ko. No?
Mm-hmm.
It's something instant. No? Sabi nga ni Basho, writing a poem is like uh, cutting a tree. No? Kailangan, pak! I-ano mo kaagad yan. No? Putulin, no? With an
Mm-hmm.
axe. Yeah. So, and most of the time, ayan ha, ito na. Most of the time, it just pops out. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ibiglang parang may isang word na gusto kong gamitin, may isang image na gusto kong i-describe, no?
Oo.
Then I would take meron akong maliit na notebook andun ko
Oo.
isulat, no? I take that wherever I go,
Mm-hmm.
especially when I'm on vacation.
Oo.
Nadala ko yan.
I like what you said about being deliberate in writing, because I think that's really what sets apart real writers from people who can just merely write. Like for example, I actually trained to become a writer,
Hmm.
pero sa totoo lang, I just feel that I don't know if I'm a real writer, because I feel that I can write. I can certainly write. I can try to write,
Hmm.
but I don't think I have the discipline for it, you know. Parang
Hmm.
this, a conscious decision to sit down and start writing regularly.
Hmm.
That's really what sets apart real writers from people who can just who merely has a talent for
Ah.
writing.
Pao,
Uh,
I agree with you.
oo.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kasi na-realize ko din yan, no? Kaya siguro it took a while before I could publish my book, no?
Mm,
Na-realize ko, wow, if I'm serious about this, then I should produce more works. And you cannot
mm,
produce more works if you don't discipline yourself as a
oo.
writer.
Exactly. Yung that word discipline.
Yes.
Uh, ang isa sa mga naging mentors ko sa pagsusulat, of course, si Ricky Lee.
Wow.
Because I trained as a screenwriter, and isa yun sa mga tinuro niya sa amin. Ricky Lee taught us that you really have to write, and you know, it's not enough that you have all these ideas in your head. if it's not on paper, kung hindi mo siya tinype, if you did not, hindi mo siya sinulat ng kamay, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Nasa imagination. It's just in your head, in your imagination.
Yeah, if it's just in your head, it doesn't exist.
Right. Naku pa, gusto kong basahin yung sinulat ng script kay under ha.
Naku, may utang pa nga ako. Yung utang ko pa nga sa kanya yun eh.
Ano ba? Dapat mabasa natin yan at maging pelikula ha.
Naku, hindi pa tapos.
Tapusin mo yan. Wow.
Teacher Alvin, do you need to be in a certain mood or in a specific setting to be able to write deliberately? Do you have to be in a, sabi nga ni Hemingway, do you need to be in a clean, well-lighted place?
Para sa akin, siguro depende sa tao, no? Ako, kasi I live alone, Pao. So siguro it's an advantage na tahimik ang lugar ko. Wala akong
tahimik ang buhay mo.
Wala akong masyadong distractions na around me. So mas nakakasulat ako, no? But there are times na kahit na I'm surrounded by a few people like mga pamangkin ko, no? But they're with their gadgets, no? Hindi nila alam nagko-compose na ako sa cellphone ko ng haiku. Ayun, mga ganong moment.
How long does it take you to write a poem? Meron ka bang, are there certain poems that you have written na parang it took a lot of time, it took days just to write those 3 lines?
Good question, Pao. Okay. May mga times, Pao, na hindi ko gusto yung sinulat ko, tapos iiwan ko lang yan, no? I'll leave it there. Tapos mababalikan ko and then i-revise ko pa, ganon. So hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon nung sinulat mo ay that's it, tapos na. As a writer, you should also know how to revise, no? Edit your own works. Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, meron ka pa bang babasahin sa autumn? Do you have an autumn poem to read for us?
Gusto mo niyo pa ng isa sa autumn? Yeah, sige. Sure. This one was published also several times, no? Not that I submit simultaneously, no, the same poems, but nagkamali lang ako kaya na-publish ng different journals, no? That should not be a practice. Now, if you are a writer, submit different poems to different journals. Okay, let me read another haiku from autumn. No? An interlude between yes and maybe in the falling leaves. An interlude between yes and maybe in the falling leaves. Yan.
Ano ibig sabihin nun?
Well, it's a poem about waiting.
So when you read, did you repeat the entire poem when you read? Or yun talagang lines niya?
Ano yan, Pao? Sorry?
Did you read the entire poem twice?
Yeah, that's how you read a haiku, twice.
Talaga? Can you tell us more about that?
I'm sorry?
You have to read it twice? Ganun ba yun? I did not know that.
Yeah. Kasi nga, it's too short. Kailangan baka may ma-miss ka eh. So, you read it again. I learned that when I was already submitting haiku, and one of my haiku was included in a podcast. No? Binasa nila ako and twice nila binabasa yung mga haiku. So, that's it.
Well, actually, in reality, I also do not read haikus once. Parang, because it's short, parang it invites you to parang, would you like to read that again to make sure that you caught everything? Parang ganun yun eh. Parang, because it's so short and you know that it's packed with so much ideas in those very short lines, it really invites you to read it again, just to make sure that you got the point.
And
Uh,
it really helps, no? Kasi
Oo.
nagiging iba, nagiging mas may dating sa'yo, no? Yung tula.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Teacher Alvin, tell us about your books. So you released a book in 2020 called Sunsets Are Sonnets and Other Poems. And then just a few weeks ago in December, you released Written on Water. Can you tell us more about your books?
Okay. So, unahin natin yung una kong libro, no?
Oo.
Na-publish nung pandemic din, nung 2020. Tama ba? Oo, 2020. Ito yun, no? Sunsets Are Sonnets and Other Poems.
Mm.
It's a collection actually of my early poems,
Mm.
plus the first set of haiku I have written.
Okay.
So, two parts ito, no? Free verse and haiku with
Oo.
a few illustrations, na. Okay. It's available, still available
Oo.
sa Shopee and
Yes.
that's Shopee.
Shopee.
Oh, now the second book, no, this is a book that I'm very proud of, no?
Oo.
Kasi it shows my maturity, no, as a
Mm.
writer, as a haiku poet, no. I say that with not just with pride, pero yung kasi I've worked so hard, no, for the poems I've written here. It took so many revisions.
Mm.
So hindi ito parang isang araw sumulat ka, pagising mo may libro ka na. Not like that, no. It went through so much, no. It went through a lot of processes.
And this
And
is also a collaboration with your sister.
yes, yeah, yun nga sasabihin ko. So it's a combination of my haiku and my sister Pinky Peralta's watercolor paintings. No, she's
Mm.
a professional watercolor artist. No, so when I asked her to to come up with a book, no, to collaborate with me, no, it was not easy. I had to convince her, but let's not go into that.
Meron
Yeah.
bang may away ba sa billing kung sino dapat mauna?
Isa na yun. Syempre because she's an artist and she's busy, no? So, buti na lang pumayag siya. And I'm
Oo.
very grateful. And this is her first book. This
Mm.
is her first book, no? So, proud din naman siya. So, it's called Written on Water, no? Yan. So,
And this is also available online?
yes, no? Sa Lazada and Shopee, and for our kababayans abroad,
Oo.
they can order online sa mga publisher's website, no? Sa centralbooks.com, Pao. Yan.
Mm. So this is like they can order yung hard copy.
Exactly,
Yeah,
no?
because I remember Sunsets Are Sonnets, that's available as an ebook sa Amazon if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, pero ito hindi pa siya available sa Amazon eh. Hindi ko pa
Oo.
ito sa Amazon.
Mm.
So, if
It's
you want
available from Central Books.
Central Books. At kung gusto niyo ng personalized, merong autograph and dedication, just message me. Meron
Okay.
pa akong extra copies, no?
Oo. Later I will ask you kung how people can reach out to you for anything.
Okay.
Teacher Alvin, what do you consider your biggest challenges in writing?
Biggest challenges. Wow. I would say yung yung unang-una yung parang coming up with something that would really yung it would it's not something that has been done before.
Oo.
Yun ang gusto ko, something new, no?
Oo.
Yung bang pag binasa nila, so refreshing to read this. It's so
Oo.
original.
Mm.
I a comment like that once and sabi ko, this is what I want to keep on doing, Pao. To be original, to be known as someone who writes original haiku,
Mm.
one that is so refreshing, so new, so different from the ordinary, from the usual.
Mm.
So yun yung challenge sa akin. And also yung minsan parang takot ako na baka ma-writer's block ako, Paolo.
Mm.
Oh, I'm so afraid of that. So I discipline myself.
Oo. Um, any advice that you can give to those who think they can write and would like to pursue writing?
Okay. Well, unang-una dapat you love reading, no? You love reading poetry.
Yes.
Hindi ka pwedeng magsulat tapos hindi ka naman mahilig magbasa.
I think
Hello?
all writers say that na para bang for you to be able to write, you should be able to read a lot, or you have to love reading.
Exactly. In
Oo.
fact, doon ko nga nakuha yung paggusto ko, yung love ko for writing because I read a lot of good works and
Mm.
it inspired me to do the same, no? Not to copy them, not to copy their style, but to find my own voice as a
Mm.
writer. And now it seems that uh, I have found, no, my own voice, no, as
Mm.
a writer, Pao. And my own niche, no? My niche is writing haiku na talaga.
Mm.
This is what I'd love to do for the rest of my life.
Teacher Alvin, if there's, for example, a high school student or a college student listening right now, they have some poems, they're not very proud of it. They're
Uh-uh.
not very proud of their poems right now, but they want to continue writing. What can you say to them?
Uh, just ganun talaga. At first, you feel like you haven't really, walang kwenta yung sinulat mo, no? But try, yun na nga, try to let others read your works, no? Don't just write for yourself kung gusto mo maging serious writer, no? Don't be afraid to receive criticisms, no?
Mm-mm.
Dapat malakas ang loob mo diyan, and that's the only way you can learn as a beginning writer, no?
Mm.
Mm. So write to be read, no? Write to be read.
Oo. Right to be read.
Mm-mm-mm.
Nice. Magandang advice yan. Teacher Alvin, yung iyong winter poem.
Okay. Nasaan na tayo? Winter,
Nasa
no?
winter na tayo.
Yes, taglamig. Okay, actually itong babasahin kong haiku uh, was published in the first book, Pao. Okay?
Mm.
Tas kinuha ko uli, ginamit ko kasi tumugma yung first line niya to become the title of this book, Pao.
Oo.
By the way, ang title ng haiku pala is always the first line, no? That's some trivia. No?
Okay.
Okay. Written on water, 101 haiku. Love not long enough. Written on water, 101 haiku. Love not long enough. Yeah, that's my yan.
Napaka-matalinhaga, parang hindi ko siya ma-capture immediately. But I
Kaya
guess, yung this short poems really make you think, but at the same time it makes you want to explore yung world na yon.
yun nga pala, balik tayo sinabi kong cutting word na Kiraji. Mapansin nyo biglang yung second line, love not long enough, no? Two juxtapositions, no?
Oo.
There's a tama ba? Juxtaposition, no?
Mm.
Put two different images or unlikely different ideas together to create a contrast or to emphasize their similarity.
Mm. And sometimes it's very humorous, di ba?
Yes, ang tawag doon, Senryu.
Ano ba? Wasn't it Basho yung sinasabi na napaka-funny ng mga poems niya?
Oo. Actually, nag-start yan as a comic.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember.
Ito. Basahin ko yung isang basyo, no?
Oo.
Ito, one of his famous, no? Classic to, no? Any haiku poet knows this, no?
Oo.
Nasa introduction to ng libro ko eh. Kinote ko siya, no? Andito yan. Ito. Translation na to, syempre, original niya sa Japanese, no?
Mm-hmm.
Pero tell me about this, no, pag narinig mo. The old pond, a frog jumps in. Sound of water. The old pond, a frog jumps in, sound of water. Sa ibang translation yan, yung last line, splash. Ganun lang. Parang, oh wow. Oh, yun yung kirejing niya, no? So,
Oo.
very, di ba? Napaka-ordinary lang. Isang
Mm.
frog tumalon sa pond, tapos nag-splash. Wow. It's
Mm.
so, yun yung, di ba? The moment, na-capture mo
Oo.
yung moment. And you can have, of course, look at it ibang level, no?
Mm.
Yung tula na yan.
Okay. Teacher Alvin, before
Yes.
we end, so again, please tell our listeners how they can avail of your books. Alam mo, yung mga books mo, they can be great Valentine gifts for friends and family. Valentine's is approaching. Well, they're good gifts for friends and family and of course for ourselves. And, people still have time to get them for Valentine's. Please also tell our listeners how they can reach you.
Okay, thank you, Pao, for this opportunity, no, to invite them to buy my new book. It's called Written on Water. It's a collection of my latest haiku and watercolor paintings by my sister, Pinky Peralta. It's a hardcover book, no? It's a coffee table book po. Magugustuhan niyo po ito, and it can also be a perfect gift, no? On this coming Valentine's Day. Kasi may mga haiku ako about love dito. By the way, of course, what is poetry if you don't write about love, Pao? So there are many haiku about love, no? In this collection. Ito po ay available sa Shopee. I-type nyo lang po Central Books, no? Tapos makikita nyo, piliin nyo na po doon yung title na to, Written on Water. At sa Lazada rin po, Lazada. And sa website ng Central Books, no? centralbooks.com. Yeah.
So Teacher Alvin, so how can people reach you? Can you give us your email address or perhaps your Instagram account?
Okay. Yes, Pao. You can reach me through my Instagram account at the Haiku Poet. Pwede bang i-ano yun?
The Haiku Poet.
At the Haiku Poet. Kung gusto niyo pong umorder, no, i-DM niyo po ako doon at if you want a signed copy with dedication, and just send me your address and we can settle we can arrange the how
Delivery.
to ship your copy to your address, no?
Okay.
At the Haiku Poet. Makikita niyo yung mga some of my works there.
Yeah, I mean Alvin regularly posts haikus on his Instagram account.
Yeah, thank you, Pao.
So Alvin, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Naku, it's my honor, Pao. Sana na bigyan ko kayo ng idea about the beauty of haiku, no? Sana sa ating mga listeners, no, sa marami mong listeners, Pao.
Nako, marami daw.
Marami pa yan, Pao, no? Ayun, sana ay maging you will become interested, no, in reading more haiku. Yeah.
Actually, I learned a lot about haikus then from you this morning. So thank you, Alvin.
Salamat. Thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you for inviting me, Pao, and sana sa uulitin, no?
Sa uulitin. Okay. And that's it for this episode of the Real Life and Postcard Views podcast, available on your favorite podcast source. We are now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Audible. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We have new content every other week or so. If you're listening on YouTube, hit the notification button and drop us a comment below. Visit my website at paolomaligaya.org and follow us on our social media channels. So thank you sa inyong lahat. Thank you, Teacher Alvin. Have a great day. God bless you and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.